Thought I'd talk some boxing, talk about last night's performance. With Frank Martin versus Michelle Rivera. Michelle Rivera need to change those trunks, and he need to take Ali off those trunks, and he need to cut that Ali fade. He need to he need because he is not Muhammad Ali. He was just totally outclassed by Frank Martin. One thing that makes me laugh is when they see a guy like Frank Martin fight, they'll sometimes the PBC apologists will say he's the cream of the crop and all that kind of stuff, and say he could beat anybody, and they try to make it to this mythical promotional war between Top Rank and PBC and all this kind of stuff. Frank Martin fought a great fight, but is he ready for somebody like Devin Haney? Is he ready for eventually if Shakur Stevenson comes up there? You look at Styles, you look at his style, you look at guys like Stevenson's style. Like, let's just say eventually Shakur Stevenson got in the mix. It might not make for basically a fan friendly fight, because when you got guys that like to counterpunch and like to take their time with placing their punches, that don't like to just throw a whole bunch of punches and basically potentially like punch themselves out or wear themselves out, or basically later on in the fight they don't have an impact on their punches that they might would have had earlier in the punches, because the more punches you throw, uh, eventually the less impact you'll have on your punches. That's why they call it punch yourself out, because you lose sometimes when you throw a whole bunch of punches, you start to lose steam off punches. That's why it's called boxing. And guys like Frank Martin, they don't like to waste punches. So how would a potential matchup against Frank Martin versus Shakur Stevenson be? Yeah, it would be interesting, but if you were a boxing purist, you would like it. If you one of those type of fighters that just like to see a whole bunch of punches thrown and all that kind of stuff, then that might not be a fight that you might be interested in. But like I said, Frank Martin fought an excellent fight. That was a eye watching performance, and what I mean by eye watching performance is a guy to keep your eye on. Now, could he do that to somebody like I said? Could he do that to Devin Haney? Could he do that to Keyshawn Davis? I don't know. Keyshawn Davis is a great fighter, and I can assure you, Keyshawn Davis will take the smoke with anybody. He'll fight anybody. Um, I like the idea that he called out Rolly. That would be an interesting fight. One thing about Rolly, he know how to sell the fight. That would be a interesting fight. More than likely, you would have to favor Martin over Rolly. What I seen with Martin, he can punch, but he isn't a devastating puncher. He did drop him, but I don't think he ever seriously hurt him in the fight to where he was ready to go, because he beat him pretty much unanimous decision. I had Frank Martin winning every round. I couldn't find one round to give Rivera. I thought that he was easily beat. Once Martin took away his jab, and then I think Martin surprised him by his ability to fight with range and be able to come in there and fight on the inside and the outside. I think that confused him. He thought he would be able to keep. He thought he would be able to keep, Martin at range, and then basically he had nothing for him except his jab for most of the time. Where Frank Martin showed his arsenal that he could do a lot of different things. He didn't limit himself. He showed his versatility. So Frank Martin fought a very impressive fight. I was impressed with what I saw. Um, like I said before, we don't know how good these guys are until they start fighting each other. We got to get past the politics. But that's the problem. We're not gonna get a lot of these fights because of politics. At the end of the day, somebody is gonna have to. Um, at the end of the day, these promotional companies are gonna have to try to figure this stuff out. They're gonna have to try to find a way to work together and make the best fights possible and stop using these excuses about, you know, um, he on this side and I'm on this side, because at the end of the day, there's no such thing as the other side of the street. It really isn't. Because to me, that sort of sounds like a sign as to basically prevent a fight from happening and prolong a fight. Because at the end of the day, the best should be fighting the best. Where there's a will, there's a way. So that's just basically the bottom line, where you have people that don't want to share pay-per-view revenue. They don't want to do joint ventures with networks and stuff. And I just think it's ridiculous. I think it's a way where everybody involved can make some kind of money. You know. So to a certain degree, I just kind of get tired of hearing that, because at the end of the day, it's just super cap and extreme cap. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I think people need to slow they roll about Frank Martin. Like I said, he got a long way to go, but he did fight an impressive fight. Before we start saying he can beat the likes of Keyshawn Davis and all those type of dudes, and Tank and Devin Haney and those type of dudes, and just saying that he'll just go in there and blow him out because you a PBC apologist, just stop the cap, man. Just stop it. Stop being an extremist. I seen Keyshawn Davis fight last week, and the boy is the goods. Okay, Keyshawn Davis is the real deal. You know, even though Keyshawn Davis don't have a lot of work in, he's the real deal. Frank Martin, from the eye test, he seemed to be the real deal, or potential real deal. But there is going to be a rush to try to set up bigger fights for Frank Martin, due to the fact that he's, he was a late starter, and he's 20, he's going to be 28 next month. So they may be a rush for him to move up the chain a little bit quicker than a lot of other people, because you want to try to get them bigger fights and get them bigger paychecks. But at the same time, there's levels to this. It's levels. So I'm just saying, not so fast with this Frank Martin to beat everybody stuff, because it's different watching him. You got to remember, he fought Rivera. Doesn't mean he gonna do that to Haney or to Tank or Keyshawn Davis or Shakur Stevenson, people like that. You gotta slow your roll, or just keeping it a buck. And that's all I'm saying. Don't get caught up. Don't, you know what I'm saying? Don't lose your stack. I'm just breaking this down. So with that being said, let me move on to the next subject. Okay, of course, his promoter was there, Earl Spence Jr., and basically he said that he was on the verge of announcing his next fight. And we all know his next fight won't be against Terrence Crawford. So, but he basically said he's going to return to the ring in May or June. So if he's going to return to the ring May or June, if he returns May, then it might be one last attempt to try to see could they actually make this fight with Terrence Crawford. I doubt, highly unlikely, Terrence Crawford will be his next opponent. But he said basically he was about to have a fight announcement. So many of us believe it would be Keith Thurman. He could be somebody else. But I believe that in all likelihood, it'll be Keith Thurman. And that'll be Errol Spence's last fight at 147. He keeps saying his body can't take it anymore. So at the end of the day, that may be where he's headed. and he's going to try to get a couple of fights in at 154. Maybe see can he get a title at 154, and then we know what's gonna happen. What I've been telling you, what's gonna in all likely happen. And when it happens, I don't want to hear nothing from anybody because I've been trying to tell you this for the longest. I listen to the interviews. I listen to his team. I listen to him. I listened to Derek James' interview in regards to Crawford. They don't seem like they want that fight that bad. They don't seem like they going out of their way to make that fight. But then that's the thing. It seemed like the fanboys, or excuse me, uh, the pundits seem to want that fight more than they do. I listened to Derek James' demeanor, and they didn't seem enthused about Crawford's performance. Like I keep saying, if Crawford is such easy pickings for Errol Spence, well, why all the lowballing? Why all the game playing? And that's what people don't want. That's the conversation people don't really want to talk about. But you'll get these dudes on here. What's so funny? You'll get these Errol Spence apologists that think they can come on your outlet and act like they can bully you, especially some of the dudes from the area that that Errol Spence is from. Like I said this before, and I'm gonna say it again. Nobody on the internet can't bully me. It don't matter if you 6'7" or 5'7". Nobody can bully me, and nobody can make me change my mind. And ain't nobody gonna make me say what they want me to say. That's real talk. If you have a hard time grasping what I'm saying on these streams, then go somewhere else. I'm not forcing you. I never said you have to listen to my channel. I never said you have to listen to my assessment of what's going on. I've said this several times. So what are you getting angry for when I say something that you don't like? You already know how I roll. I mean, if you Errol Spence fans like getting Tina Turner, you know what I'm saying? If you like for me to Ike Turner y'all, then why you keep bringing y'all asses to my channel? And by the way, speaking of Ike Turner, they ain't really been truthful about that whole Tina Turner Ike stuff, because the facts kind of came out that wasn't accurate about what happened in that movie. What's Love Got to Do with it? But if you want to do the fictional, what's supposed to have happened in the movie based off what was told in the film, then if you like getting, you know what I'm saying, for real, if you like getting Tina Turner, if you like eating the cake, to you Errol Spence apologists, then that's on y'all. If you keep coming back for more, you coming back knowing that I'm gonna say what I need to say. That's what I don't understand. Why you keep coming back? You think my opinion gonna be different the next time than what it was the previous time? No, not gonna happen. So stop thinking that you can come on people's outlet and try to bully them, because it's nothing to just block you. It's really simple. It really is. It's not really. It's just really simple. Oh yeah, and I want to address this dude that just constantly lies on a regular basis. He is a straight switch up artist. Dude can't make up his mind about nothing. I ain't gonna say the dude's name. I told you I don't believe in giving nobody free publicity, but to that lion dude, with the bald head, that goofball, the least attorney, sitting up saying that your sources told you that Terrence Crawford only sold 5,000 pay-per-views. Your source is yourself. You're a liar. And that's all it come down to. Dude, stop lying. Stop lying. And this is what I mean. These are the dudes that's the problem with boxing, who sit up there and want to play these games and try to say that they're objective and all that. And they're not. I've said this before and I'll say this again. All I'm asking the PBC to do is give Terrence Crawford a fair offer. But at the end of the day, what y'all don't want to accept that you have made Terrence Crawford more popular than Errol Spence. So the truth about the truth is that Terrence Crawford is a more popular fighter. You can sit up there and try to basically try to dismiss what Terrence Crawford has done as a fighter and try to dismiss the level of competition. Well, here's the thing. Once again, Al Heyman didn't want to put a lot of those guys in the ring with Terrence Crawford. At the end of the day, people will say, well, he fought Jeff Corn and all that kind of stuff. Because, I heard a bunch of goofballs when Errol Spence was looking at Jeff Horn, it was all good. But then when Terrence Crawford came in there and blew past Jeff Horn, then all of a sudden he's Jeff Corn. Like I said, it's a good fight until Terrence Crawford gets a hold of him. So it doesn't matter who Terrence Crawford fight. It'll always be an excuse. I've seen this on several occasions, how these dudes like to switch up. And I need to give you another reminder. I'm from California. I love Texas and I love the brothers in Texas, but I have no obligation to be a Errol Spence Texas fanboy of any fighter. If you from Texas and you know what I'm saying, and you support the guy from Texas, that's cool. That's fine. That's you. But don't think everybody else has to do it because you doing it. And don't think that you're going to sit up there and try to call yourself trying to bully somebody or try to punk somebody. I can't be punked. And if you got an attitude because I won't be an Errol Spence fanboy, then that's your damn problem. That's your damn problem. Go to rehab, have a drink or whatever. Oh, something Errol Spence likes to do. And I wasn't taking a shot at Errol Spence. I'm just, this is factual. I wasn't taking a shot at Errol Spence, but I know somebody gonna say, Town took a shot. Hey, this is documented, okay? So I'm just saying. Just saying. Just saying. Once again, Town don't get personal. And I just want to tell you how I just want you guys to know how petty some of these dudes is. Well, I already know people will take my words and they'll try to twist it and all that kind of stuff, because you got a lot of these dudes that have feminine traits and they try to instigate like women do. But, at the end of the day, everybody knows I go to fights. It's no excuse. I don't want to hear this stuff about, Town, you don't show your face, show my face. Town, be in the streets, be in the streets. You don't go to fights, go to fights. You don't travel outside of California. Just came from New York. Been to Dallas. Been to Philly. Been to LA. So what's the excuse now? So stop it. Yeah, Martin is a good fighter, but like I said, we need to, before we put him in the mythical top 10 pound per pound, we need to see how he fares against better competition. I mean, I saw Rivera fight. I wasn't that impressed with him to begin with, because this whole Muhammad Ali moniker that he took on, that kind of made me be like, dude, come on, man. So now what you gonna do? Now that you got beat thoroughly in a fight, you got beat thoroughly, you lost. To me, you lost every round. You didn't win one round in that fight. You got dominated. So either Frank Martin is really good, or you're just not that good and you made Frank Martin look better than what he really is. And that's all I'm saying. And that's a fair assessment. Sort of like that game yesterday that happened between the Minnesota Vikings and the Colts. That was crazy. Minnesota had no business winning that game, but they won. They came from 30 down and won that game. The Colts went ice cold in the second half. And they had every opportunity to secure that game and they couldn't get it done. So now you have to ask the question, is the Vikings that good, or the Colts is just that bad? And somewhere in between, there's an answer. It might have been a little bit of both, because you still got to ask yourself, can the Vikings win it all? The Vikings had no business winning that game. I mean, they had, I'm talking about, I never seen nothing like that before in my life for a team, but to blow a lead like that, a substantial lead, and they just basically couldn't score in the second half. And Kirk Cousins damn near gave him that game. He threw a pick six and he threw an interception that should have been able to basically secure them that game and did capitalize. But that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm making this analysis of. We don't know how good Frank Martin is. We need to wait and see. Because Rivera, it might have been, what happened was Rivera was so bad and I mean, when I say Rivera looked so pedestrian in that fight, he looked real pedestrian. So that's where the terminology comes, well, you're only as good as your competition. And then sometimes it could be because the dude is that good. Now, Frank Martin does that to his next three opponents. And that was like Frank Martin's first 12-round fight. So if Frank Martin continues to do that, then it's just going to be a reflection of how good he is or could potentially be. But like I said before, let's hold on before we start putting him in the same category with some of the other dudes out there. Devin Haney is a pound-for-pound undisputed fighter, and he deserves a lot more credit. Now, Keyshawn Davis, that's a different story. Keyshawn Davis only got 7 fights in. At the end of the day, it's no need to rush Keyshawn Davis, but Keyshawn Davis, based off the eye test, he kind of picking it up and moving a little bit quicker than other fighters are doing. But that's going to be a fight. That'll be a fight that, once again, that won't be talked about at least for the next couple of years. And one thing I can say about the top ranked fighters, this is just factual. And a lot of people don't want to have these conversations. Keep in mind, the PBC got all those fighters, right? The PBC got all those fighters, and they not getting no dates. They fighting once a year, some fighting once every year, every other year. So that's a problem. Say what you want to say about the top ranked fighters, they getting fight dates. I think Nico Ali fought like, 4 or 5 times. Xander Zayas fought like 4 or 5 times last year. Keyshawn Davis fought about 3 times last year. Carrington fought like about 3 or 4 times. They getting dates. And this isn't about me caping for the white man and none of that stuff. I'm just coming with facts. The reason why the top ranked fighters got dates because they got a network deal. Now, we don't know what's going on with the PBC and network deals. And due to the fact, like I said, if they was bringing in the revenue that they claim to be bringing in, then like I said, Fox would continue the deal. And then it appears to Showtime is some questions about what they're going to do with Showtime. So that's all I'm saying. And that might be the reason why Errol Spence next fight, it won't be till like May or June. So I'm just keeping it a buck. And you have these people that want to put this information out there that Al Heyman is this dude that's just, making sure all his fighters is taken care of. And that don't seem to be the case, because at the end of the day, Adrian Broner had a lot to say. Then there were a few other people. So I'm just saying, I'm just putting this out. I'm just putting this out, and I'm just keeping it a buck. I'm not finna watch what I say because PBC apologists and purists and certain sack huggers and certain fighters want you to say that. And I'm going to say this again. If you're listening, I'm not going to say what you want me to say. And I don't give a damn about you having your attitude, not speaking to me. I don't need none of you dudes. I never did. And I'm making that clear, and you know who you are. I ain't got to say your name. Just keeping it a buck. I never needed none of you guys. Once again, I did everything on my own with my hard work. So you want to have an attitude? Some of y'all want to have an attitude because I won't, you know what I'm saying? Because I won't constantly endorse the guy that you like. Like I said, once again, that's your problem. I'm about boxing. I'm not about just strictly Top Rank or strictly the PBC or Matchroom, whatever. Or Golden Boy. If I see a fighter that got real talent, I'm going to talk about them. Like I said before, I'm going to keep saying this. It's not my job to tell fighters what promotional company to sign with. That's That's just not my job. That's not my thing, and I'm not gonna do that. Especially when I ain't being paid no money by none of these promotional companies. You want me to tell a fighter to come to your promotional company, send me a check? While you got a lot of these bozos on here, sitting up behind sitting up behind a computer, sitting up acting like they promoters and stuff, and trying to tell somebody who to sign. And like I said, these dudes are screwing up the game, and that's just real. But yeah, Errol Spence has reported that he'll return to the ring sometime. Errol Spence reported that he'll return to the ring sometime in May or June. So if that's true, well, that'll be Errol Spence fighting one time in a year, calendar year. Not really, but it'll still be a year since Errol Spence had a fight if he doesn't plan on coming back till May or June. So once again, you ask that question: why is Errol Spence only getting one fight date? There's some stuff going on behind the scenes, whether people want to face it or not. And like I said before, I'm sorry if you guys don't want to hear the truth. I listen to his team talk. I listen to him talk. He doesn't seem. This is my own assessment, and I'm just keeping it a buck. They do not seem like they going beyond the call of duty to make the Crawford fight. You listen to Derrick James. You look at his demeanor. They don't seem like they're too interested in making that fight. And I keep saying this once again. If the PBC believed that Terrence Crawford would be such easy work for Errol Spence, they would have been made this fight. I don't listen to these bozos that go to these other channels that don't cover fights, that just make up stuff. But the problem is you guys brainwash these other casuals, so then they come on the channel like mine thinking that they know what they talked about, and then they don't know what they talking about. And then I have to show them that they don't know what they talked about by basically making them look stupid by coming with facts. Like I said before, I don't have a horse in the race. I just want the damn fight to be made. And nobody can come with a real explanation on why in the hell did it take them till June to even start talking to Terrence Crawford. And the only problem that I have with Errol Spence, he keeps saying, oh, well, I'm not going to go against Al Haymon. No, you can't go against Al Haymon because you contractually obligated not to say anything bad about Al Haymon. Like I said, Al Haymon have a God complex. This man always want everybody to say his name, but then at the end of the day, he doesn't have the decency to talk to the media and clear a lot of this stuff up. But his name is always getting mentioned. So like I said, it's natural for people to want to hear what this man has to say when everybody always have to thank this dude. And then they'll say, well, he's just this, or he's just that. Look, at the end of the day, when people mentioning your name, they can make you, if your name is always in the news, or if your name is always being talked about, whether you like it or not, you considered a celebrity. And based off the fact that Al Haymon's name is always mentioned and attached to these PBC fighters' name, and they have to say his name because they contractually obligated for the most part to say his name. Well, since his name is always out there, and since you can Google the dude, he's famous whether he wants to be or not. So, of course, we want to hear what Al Haymon has to say. Because if Al Haymon would issue a statement, at least telling his side of the story, nobody want to hear about, oh, well, Al Haymon is doing this, making this fight do. Well, you could, if you got all these fighters on your roster, you should be able to make certain fights if they supposed to be in-house fights. To be honest with you, the PBC, they got enough fighters to where they could have had a program every week. So ask yourself that question. While these know-it-alls sitting up saying how the PBC is making big moves, the PBC have enough fighters to where they could have put on the card every week. Every week. 52 weeks. So explain that to me. And you got all those fighters. So there you have it. See, nobody, like I said, once again, nobody wants to have that conversation. Nobody wants to have that conversation. Nobody wants to talk about the flip side and aspect of that. You have all these fighters, but then, like I said, some of these fighters is getting one fight date. Errol Spence should be fighting at least 2 or 3 times a year. Because keep in mind, the PBC supposed to have all the fighters. They supposed to have all these fighters on their roster. So I'm just keeping it a buck. To be honest with you, when you think about it, with all the promotional companies, Matchroom, Golden Boy, Top Rank, PBC, we should be getting boxing every week. And I'm just keeping it 100. Just keeping it one. I'm just keeping it 100. Just telling the truth. But nobody, like I said, ever want to have these real conversations, because you got these people that'll sit up there and just say, hey, we automatically gonna ride for a dude who look like us, but then at the same time, he don't give a damn. Like I said before, how many times I had to call the PBC out for not featuring black fighters on their pay-per-views? Dozens. But you didn't have none of the so-called PBC apologists calling that out. And then here's the thing. The problem that I have with Errol Spence, like I said, Errol Spence need to publicly call out Al Haymon and say, I demand that Al Haymon make the Terrence Crawford fight. But he said he ain't going to go against Al Haymon. But nobody wants to question that. Like I said, say what you want to say about Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson publicly called Bob Arum out and said, hey, I want you to make the Valdez fight. I don't want to hear no excuses. But, Shakur don't get credit for that. So I'm saying, if Shakur can do it, why can't Errol Spence do it? Since everybody love to keep track of what Top Rank and other promotional companies is doing. So when we gonna have that conversation? I will destroy these dudes in a debate, but I don't do debates. This is what these goofballs won't tell you. This is what a lot of those bald-headed cornballs won't tell you. That's what the least attorney won't tell you while he's sitting up there fabricating, flat out lying, talking about that somebody did 5,000 pay-per-views, talking about a contact. Your contact is yourself. You were sitting up lying, and I'm telling you, you're a liar. You're a liar. But see, nobody wants to have that conversation. Shakur did it. Like I said, and y'all know he did it. He publicly called out Bob Arum. He's publicly called out Bob Arum several times about making certain fights. So why can't Errol do it? I mean, remember, he his own boss. Remember, he the big fish. Remember, he the shark. He knocking at Terrence Crawford's door. Not really. Not really. So, I'm just saying. Oh yeah. Let me speak on something right quick. Let me speak on something. Give me a second, you guys. Give me a second. All right, you guys. I wanted to bring something else to your attention. Something that Eddie Hearn brought up, and I knew people was gonna sit up there and make a video. See, I don't make videos based off certain interviews. I just don't do that. That's just really not my thing. I will do that every once in a while, but that's something that some guys got to do. But Eddie Hearn said something that was really puzzling and troubling at the same time. like I said, everybody will take something that Terrence Crawford say and they will make a big deal out of it. They will twist his words. Terrence Crawford has said that him and Errol Spence could probably do better numbers if they fought like at Wembley Stadium. Okay, saying at the gate. They could have a big gate because Wembley Stadium could hold, what, 70, 80, 90,000 people for boxing. And then plus the pay-per-view. A lot of those Europeans, they like our fighters better than they like their own fighters. So when he said that if Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence fought, now listen closely. Listen closely. Watch what I tell you. Watch what I tell you. Listen closely what I'm about to say. Now, Eddie Hearn said that at best, Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence in the UK would do maybe a $6 million gate. And if they had that fight at the T-Mobile Arena, they would do a $25 million gate. And the gate is talking about what they would make in ticket sales. I don't think that's accurate at all. Errol Spence had a $6 million gate, depending on who you ask, for his last fight at Cowboy Stadium. Right. Y'all know the Cowboy Stadium at full capacity could hold up to 100,000 people. Probably for boxing, they'll make it. Probably for boxing, they're not going to sell every seat, but they probably would make it maybe 80,000. Errol Spence's last gate did around, so they saying, in the lower millions at a stadium that holds 100,000 people. And he was selling tickets between $35 and $45 being the lowest. So, and that's in the States. So how in the hell would you generate, and they saying he sold 37,000 tickets, even though I know for a fact that they gave away like 4,000 or 5,000 tickets. So how in the hell would they do a $25 million gate at the T-Mobile Arena at capacity that holds 18,000 people? So they gonna sell, so that would mean they would sell like, I think the 25 million. So you basically saying you would sell the lowest, the lowest, or should I say the cheapest ticket would be around what, $5,000 to have a $25 million gate. And we all know ain't nobody gonna pay no $5,000 for that fight. So that didn't make no kind of sense. If you can't get a $25 million gate in a stadium that holds 100,000 people at full capacity, because keep in mind, the All-Star game that they had at Cowboy Stadium many moons ago, they had 100,000 people up in there. So that doesn't make any kind of sense. And I'm just keeping it a buck. And I'm not trying to attack neither one of them, but ain't nobody gonna pay no $5,000 per ticket to sit up in the nosebleeds section of the T-Mobile Arena. And the T-Mobile Arena, as far as viewing goes, it's a horrible venue. Once you go upstairs, it's a horrible venue. It's not a good. It's not a good. It's not. It's not a good venue for. As far as watching events, once you go up in the upper deck. So Eddie Hearn wasn't telling the truth. I don't even think Canelo has had a $25 million gate. And I'm not diminishing them, and I'm not putting them down, but I'm just telling the truth. This is just factual. This is factual. What was the last fight in the States that had a $25 million gate, not named Floyd Mayweather? So there you have it. At best, that fight might could get like the high ones, or maybe the low tens. Even if you sold the cheapest ticket at maybe at maybe $1,000, and then the highest being like maybe I'm just telling you, nobody's gonna pay that kind of money for that particular fight. Nobody's gonna pay $5,000 for, you know what I'm saying, a nosebleed seat. I'm keeping it a buck. I know people like, damn, Town said it. Well, somebody needed to say it. Eddie Hearn wasn't being truthful. That fight ain't gonna do no $25 million gate, no T-Mobile Arena. What was the last fight that did that? What was the last fight that did a $25 million gate at the T-Mobile Arena? You tell me. I'll wait for that answer. And it'll be the longest wait ever. So I'm just saying, people got to be truthful, man. I'm sorry that some people can't, handle this, but not my problem. That's not my problem. So just needed to be truthful. I'm sorry that some people can't understand what Town is saying, but the smart people will. So that's just basically it. But anyway, thank you for listening. It's your boy Town Biz. I'm out.